Even if you've never touched old versions of Windows, you've 100% seen this picture somewhere. In the early 2000s, it was literally everywhere. Billions of people stared at that green hill and blue sky every single day. The photo's called Bliss, and yeah, it's basically a legend now. Microsoft dropped over $200 million on an ad campaign using it, and the guy who took it, Charles O'Rear, got paid a record-breaking $100 grand for just that one shot. Writers and journalists went crazy explaining why it hits so hard. Bliss even built its own little fan club. People zoomed into every detail, trying to figure it all out. What camera was used, the exact spot, the coordinates. They wanted to see that hill with their own eyes. But no matter how pretty Bliss was, over time people got tired of it. So naturally, they started switching wallpapers, and one of the top picks was Autumn. But Autumn wasn't like Bliss at all, because nobody knew a thing about it. No photographer name, no location, not even the year it was taken. The internet had literally zero information. The mystery got so big that people seriously started asking, where the heck did this photo come from? More and more people were like, okay, but where is this place? And those simple questions turned into a mystery with way more complicated answers. The whole Bliss story basically became a full-on investigation. And it didn't just last a couple of months. This thing dragged on for 13 years. The search took people to places they never imagined. Digital archives were dug up in the US, Russia, and Canada. They even reached out to Bill Gates himself. It all started back in 2006. A journalist from Vanity Fair, Nick Toshis, picked up his laptop from repair. When he turned it on, he was greeted by the same wallpaper he was already sick of. So he turned to the repair guy and said, "Change this." The guy nodded, clicked a few times, and then, boom, Autumn popped up on the screen. At first, Toshis thought it was just some random autumn road, but the more he looked, the more details he noticed. At the end of the road, there was some kind of structure. Was it a cabin? A covered bridge? Maybe a barn? And even the road itself felt weirdly familiar, like he'd been there before. But where was it? Which country? No answers. And who took the photo in the first place? But Nick Toshis wasn't the kind of journalist to give up over a few questions. We're talking about a guy who exposed drug connections, got access to the Vatican's secret archives, and even earned a PhD in journalism. He even tracked down Phil Spector's first wife, who was thought to be dead. And he tried interviewing actual leaders of the Italian mafia. So the first step of the investigation was obvious. Check the file's properties. But all he found was a 65 kilobyte image. No author, no date, no location. Next, he reached out to Windows help and support. But yeah, nothing there either. So, on to the next move. Type the file name into a search engine. Still nothing. The internet itself didn't know who shot this photo. A week passed, and there was still no progress, so he decided to share the mystery with his Vanity Fair colleagues. This was a serious investigative team. These are the people who dug into the Iraq War, revealed the identity of Deep Throat from Watergate. And yeah, they even investigated why Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston really broke up. His colleagues already knew Nick was into weird, offbeat stuff. They agreed to help and even gave themselves a name: the Autumn Team. They dug through old archives. They checked the file metadata. They hunted for any digital breadcrumbs. They zoomed in on parts of the image, hoping maybe they could catch a clue to nail down the location. Months went by, still nothing. They were down to one possibility. Maybe Autumn wasn't a real photo at all, just a Windows-only digital artwork, which would mean there was no photographer behind it. The team thought that made sense, but Nick Toshis wasn't buying it. He was stuck again. Every day, millions of people saw this image on their screens, and he still couldn't figure out where it came from. Out of sheer desperation, he started emailing anyone he could think of: photographers, journalists, friends. He even sent one of those messages to Microsoft. In the email, he introduced himself as a journalist specialized in Windows wallpapers. He said he was writing an article about the impact of the Autumn image on user productivity, and that he absolutely needed to contact the owner. Replies trickled in over the next few months, but they all sounded the same. Nobody knew anything about Autumn. Some of his friends even started thinking Nick Toshis was slowly losing it. And then one day, a strange email came from a Microsoft employee. The employee apologized first. Then they said, "I can't disclose who owns the photo." The Autumn team was stunned. It was just a regular Autumn photo. Why all the secrecy? Why couldn't a shot taken years ago be explained even now? Why wouldn't they name the photographer? Was there some kind of dispute between Microsoft and the photographer? Or was it actually created digitally and the company had been fooling everyone this whole time? Maybe even Microsoft didn't know where the photo came from. So the team turned all their attention back to the image itself. Maybe the answers are hidden inside the picture, they thought. Someone said, maybe it's on private property. But there was nothing special in the frame, just a path and an old fence, maybe a farm. They analyzed every single detail in the photo, the shapes of the trees, the color of the soil, the vegetation. But all that work turned into a stack of guesses with zero hard evidence. Then, by chance, a Vanity Fair photographer was picking visuals for the next issue. He stumbled onto a little-known site and spotted a familiar image. But this time it was labeled Tender Autumn. Nick Tosches immediately emailed the site admin. The reply came fast. We get these images from partner companies, so we don't know the exact source. But as far as I know, this shot was taken at the Moscow Botanical Garden. The team instantly turned into online tourists. For weeks, they combed through Moscow's gardens, fences, paths, and bushes on Google Maps. They checked every angle, compared everything, and finally made their call. If Autumn is really a photograph, it definitely wasn't taken here. He realized, for the first time, he had nothing to grab onto. This is a guy who'd tracked down rock stars thought to be dead and interviewed famous drug lords. But now, the only thing he needed was to figure out where a single photo came from, a photo that pretty much everyone had on their computer. He closed the browser, and there it was again on the screen, that familiar image, Autumn. He was starting to regret telling the repair guy to change the wallpaper a year earlier. For the first time in his life, he thought about giving up. But he wanted to do it in a way that felt true to him. Just for fun, he wrote an email to Bill Gates. He kept the tone playful and witty. He hit send and shut the computer down. The next morning, he turned it back on. No reply from Gates, which, to be fair, he expected from the start. A few weeks later, Nick Tosches thought, writing to a billionaire about a wallpaper with no known origin and expecting a reply was insane. So this time, he decided to email Gates' assistants. After all, Microsoft owned a massive photo archive called Corbis. Autumn had to be in there somewhere. While waiting for a reply, he started digging through the archive himself. Corbis's digital library had a whopping 70 million images. About 5,000 of them were titled Autumn. After weeks of searching, one finally caught his eye. A photo called Autumn Leaves Falling on the Ground. Here's the key detail. It was in the Digital Media Archive, which should mean the photographer's name, the shoot date, and the location were listed there. Tosches didn't rush it. He'd been waiting for this moment for a long time. He slowly scrolled down the page. He reached the info section. Shot date, October 1999, and nothing else. After a while, an email came in from Bill Gates' assistant, and it had what might be the most important line of the entire investigation. The photo was taken here, Campbellville, Ontario, Canada. Tosches spent weeks combing through this Canadian town on Google Maps. He checked the small roads, the forests, the fields, one by one. But he still couldn't find that path, that exact photo. So he decided to ask the people of Campbellville for help. He sent the photo to local history groups, bar owners, real estate agents, but nobody recognized the place. Then, an unexpected email landed from Vanity Fair's senior visual research editor. The photographer's name is Peter Buren. Nick Tosches called Peter that very day. He spent half an hour on the phone telling the whole story from start to finish, how he got obsessed with this photo and how the whole team chased it. In the meantime, he learned Peter had moved to the city of Milton, and finally Tosches asked the big question. So, where exactly did you shoot the Autumn photo? Silence. Peter Buren didn't remember where he'd taken it, but there was a small clue. They knew it was around Campbellville, and Peter remembered that back then he only shot within about 100 kilometers of his home. Tosches convinced Peter to go find the spot again. Peter started revisiting all the areas he used to shoot. A week went by. Still nothing. Just when it felt like everything was stuck again, Tasha's luck flipped. A letter arrived from a woman in the area. She knew the region like the back of her hand. She hadn't been there in about 10 years, but the photo looked very familiar. Looking at the shape of the fence and the gray barn in the distance, she wrote that it was most likely the path leading to the old Harris property. Tasha sent the location to Peter right away. Peter headed out to the spot without wasting a second. That evening, he called Tasha's and said the words he'd been waiting a year to hear. "I found the place." But Autumn disappeared again. This time it was 2019, and the story wasn't kicked off by a journalist. It was a Reddit user, Niam Amarhi. Niam was tired of the boring wallpapers on his computer. He hopped from forum to forum. He checked stock photo sites, but none of them had that warmth, that lived-in feel he wanted. Then suddenly, he remembered the picture he loved as a kid. The wallpaper with cozy autumn colors that sat on his dad's computer for years. Niam Googled it right away, and surprisingly, yes, he found it. But at that quality? Not even close. It wasn't really a photo anymore, just a blurry mess of yellow-green pixels. But Niam Amarhi didn't give up. Thanks to the detective work Nick Tasha's did years earlier, he quickly found the photographer's name, Peter Buren. He emailed Peter. He explained how special the photo was to him. He shared memories about his dad. He told him he was a huge fan of Autumn. But there was still no high-quality version online. Something had to be done. Peter's response was pretty straightforward. "No problem. The fee is $100. But Niam didn't want to pay, and he did what a typical tech nerd would do. He grabbed the highest resolution version he could find online. He ran it through an AI system to recreate the closest thing to the original frame. Thousands of Reddit users were thrilled. But plenty of people were disappointed too, because the Autumn wallpaper was originally made for small screens. To make it fit, it had been cropped, compressed, and the quality reduced, which made the photo look different, kinda off to some people. The colors and proportions had shifted. People wanted the original, official wallpaper that shipped with Windows. One of those fans was a Reddit user named Fusoxide. He tried to buy the original from Corbis, but the price was more than he could cover alone, so he launched a fundraiser. When it went live in January 2022, Fusoxide figured he might raise half in 6 months, if he was lucky. I mean, who's gonna pay for an old photo, right? But the magic of Autumn kicked in again. The campaign finished in a single day, and no, these people weren't crazy. Donors explained one by one why they sent the money. Some wanted to put that old wallpaper back on the family computer because it reminded them of their childhood. Others wanted to remember the first games on their first PC, the good days, laughing with a friend. For all these people, Autumn wasn't just a photo. And thanks to them, after a 15-year search, the original high-quality version of Autumn finally went online. Turns out, thousands of people around the world had been quietly missing it. Bliss was a whole different story. Its creator, Charles O'Rear, became famous because of it. He made $100,000, and the shot basically turned into a legend. Show that photo to someone today and they'll say, "I know this from somewhere."
Anybody now from age 15 on for the rest of their life will remember this photograph.
He says that starting in 2001, it showed up on 1 billion desktop PCs worldwide, and he's seen it everywhere, from the White House to the control panel of a power plant in North Korea. But those wallpapers had one big advantage. They came as the default. Autumn, on the other hand, was a photo people chose with their own hands. And people's love for it brought Peter Buren neither fame nor money. He's made only $45 in total from that shot. That's cheaper than a copy of Windows XP. Peter once joked that the photo gave him 15 minutes of fame, but I don't think that's true. I think that fame lasted way longer. At first, a team of journalists hunted for this photo for years. Then people tried to find out where the place actually was. Some folks used AI to clean it up. Others raised money to share the original shot with everyone. And nobody did it just for a photo. People didn't love Autumn just because it looked pretty. They loved what it meant to them. That photo was loved because of the memories it carried. Someone's first day at work, a family's first computer, someone else's first love. For some, it felt like youth, a simpler, kinder time. And some people actually went there, down that yellow leaf path between the trees, just to stand for a minute, breathe it in, and maybe, for a moment, step back into that old, simple, carefree life.